Chapter 16 to the end. The Turbo Toilet 2000. Suddenly, the Turbo Toilet 2000 came charging out the front door of the school with a terrible crash. The earth rumbled beneath its mighty footsteps as nearly a ton of twisting steel and raging porcelain descended upon our heroes. You three meddling fools may have destroyed my army of turbo-talking toilets, screamed the Turbo Toilet 2000. But you're all out of cafeteria food. How are you gonna stop me? I'll tell you how, Captain Underpants said boldly. With wedgie power. Wait, Captain Underpants, cried George. You can't fight that thing. He'll rip you to pieces. Boys, said Captain Underpants nobly, I must fight valiantly for truth, justice, and all that's pre-shunkin' cottony. Captain Underpants leaped onto the Turbo Toilet 2000, and the battle began. I sure hope this doesn't lead to extremely graphic violence, said Harold. Me too, said George. Chapter 17, the extremely graphic violence chapter. Part 1, in Fliporama. Wedgie power versus potty power. And it shows Captain Underpants giving a wedgie to the Turbo Toilet 2000. Oh no! The potty power punch prevails. It shows the potty smashing Captain Underpants. The carnivorous commode captures the captain. And then it shows the toilet crunching up Captain Underpants. Chapter 18. Harold and the purple ballpoint pen. Everything seemed hopeless. Captain Underpants had slipped and fallen into the mouth of the Turbo Toilet 2000. And now the giant toilet was coming after George and Harold. Ha 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 ha, laughed the powerful porcelain predator. Once I have eaten you two kids up, I'll take over the world. Not if we have anything to say about it, yelled George. George and Harold ran into the school and locked the door behind them. The Turbo Toilet 2000 banged against the door with his fist, shouting, You boys can't hide in there forever. George and Harold ran into the gym. I've got a plan, said George. We need to invent a character who can defeat a giant robot toilet. How about a giant robot urinal, asked Harold. We can call it the Urinator. No way, said George. They'll never let us get away with this in a children's book. We're skating on thin ice as it is. All right, said Harold. How about a giant plunger robot? He can carry a big plunger and... That's it, cried George. So Harold took out his purple ballpoint pen and began to draw. Give him laser eyes, said George. All right, said Harold. And give him turbo-automatic rocket boosters, said George. Got it, said Harold. And make him obey our every command, said George. I'm way ahead of you, said Harold. Harold finished his drawing and George inspected it carefully. This just might work, said George. Yeah, said Harold, if the pasty 2000 can hold out. The boys turned and looked at the dented, cracked, and beaten-up machine laying on its side in the corner. George and Harold pushed the pasty 2000 upright and dusted it off. Come on, pasty old girl, said George. We really need you now. Yeah, said Harold. The fate of the entire planet's in our hands. Chapter 19. The Incredible Robo-Plunger. George took Harold's picture and placed it on the screen of the pasty 2000 and pressed start. The lights around them dimmed as the weary machine began to shake and smoke. Lightning bolt zapped, thunder clapped, and the whole gymnasium shook with photo-automatic transmologiblotery yakno fan trip blog nefakazip energy. "Come on, Pasty," George shouted over the horrible noise. "You can do it, baby." Finally, a small ding was heard, and the Pasty 2000 coughed up a huge metallic behemoth. It rose and stood valiantly before George and Harold. It was the incredible Robo-Plunger. "Hooray!" cried George. "It worked!" "Way to go, Pasty!" Harold cheered. "Now let's get outside and kick some turbo toilet tushy." Chapter 20, the extremely graphic violence chapter, Part 2 in Flipporama. The incredible Robo-Plunger to the rescue shows the Robo-Plunger bashing up the Turbo Toilet 2000. The incredible Robo-Plunger kicks TT2000's tushy shows the Turbo Toilet 2000 kicking the Turbo Toilet 2000's tushy. The TT2000 takes the plunge shows the Turbo Plunger 2000 flushing the TT2000 out. Chapter 21, the aftermath. The incredible Robo-Plunger had defeated the evil Turbo Toilet 2000, but George and Harold's problems weren't over yet. They reached into the crumpled mouth of the TT2000 and pulled out their principal. "What happened here?" cried Mr. Krupp. As the school had been destroyed, the teachers were all unconscious and I'm standing here in my underwear. "Uh-oh," Harold whispered. Captain Underpants must have gotten toilet water on his head. He turned back into Principal Krupp. George turned Mr. Krupp's clothes and hair out of his backpack and handed it to him. "I'm ruined," Principal Krupp whined as he dressed himself. "I'm going to be held responsible for this mess. I'm going to lose my job." "Maybe not," said George. "We can fix everything and clean up this whole mess." "Yeah," said Harold. "But it will cost you." "Cost me what?" asked Mr. Krupp. "Well," said George, "we'd like you to cancel our detention and our suspension. And we'd also like to be principals for the day," said Harold. "All right," said Mr. Krupp. "If you can fix everything, you got a deal." George and Harold turned and spoke to the incredible Robo-Plunger. "All right, Robo guy," said George. "Make yourself useful and pick up all this mess." "Yeah, and fix up the school too," said Harold. "Use your laser eyes to repair all the broken windows and stuff." "And when you're done," said George, "take all the evidence and fly it up to Uranus. And don't come back," said Harold. Chapter 22. To make a long story short, the robot obeyed. Chapter 23. After the aftermath. The incredible Robo-Plunger soared off into space just as the teachers began to regain consciousness. "I just had the strangest dream," said Mrs. Ribble. "It was all about these evil toilets who wanted to take over the world." "We had the same dream too," said the other teachers. "Well," said Mr. Krupp, "things turned out all right after all." "Not quite," said George. "It's payback time." Chapter 24, Principles for the Day, or the Invention, Convention, Detention, Suspension, Prevention. "Attention, students," said George over the intercom the following day. "This is Principal George. You are excused from classes today. There will be no homework or tests, and everybody gets an A+ for the day." "That's right," said Principal Harold. "Also, we're hosting an all-day recess outside, complete with free pizza, French fries, cotton candy, and a live DJ. Now go outside and play." Principal George and Principal Harold strolled out to the playground to behold their glorious domain. George got a slice of pepperoni pizza, while Harold made himself a banana split at the all-you-can-eat ice cream sundae bar. "It's good to be principal," said George. "Yep," said Harold. "I wish we could be principals every day." Later, George and Harold paid a visit to the unfortunate folks who were spending the day writing sentences in the detention room. All the teachers were there, along with Mr. Krupp and Melvin Sneedley. Mr. Krupp looked out the window at the all-day recess celebration and going outside. How are you boys going to pay for all that ice cream and pizza? He asked. Oh, we sold some stuff, said Harold. What did you sell? Asked Mr. Krupp. Your antique walnut desk and leather chair, said George, and all the furniture in the teacher's lounge. What? Screamed Mr. Krupp. I think we better leave now, said Harold. George and Harold left the detention room in a hurry. Mrs. Anthrop snapped her fingers at them. Snap. Come back here right now, she yelled. Uh-oh, said George. Did Mrs. Anthrop just snap her fingers? Within seconds, Mr. Krupp dashed out of the detention room and ran down the hallway toward his office. He had a goofy, heroic, all too familiar-looking smile on his face. Oh no, cried Harold. Here we go again, cried George. Tra-la-la! The end. About the author. When Dave Pilkey was a kid, his teachers thought he was disruptive, behaviorally challenged, and in serious need of a major attitude adjustment. When Dave wasn't writing sentences in the detention room, he could usually be found sitting at his private desk in the hallway. There he spent his time writing and drawing his own original comic books about a superhero named Captain Underpants. The end. Thanks for listening, guys. Bye.